Have you ever looked at your life and realized you were pouring into everybody else, but leaving yourself on empty? Like you've been handing out love, wisdom, patience, support, and somehow you're still the one lying awake at night feeling unseen? Let me ask you something that might hit a nerve. What if giving back isn't something you do after you heal, but part of how you heal? What if the thing you think is just for them is actually the very thing that brings you back to you? Because I need you to hear this right from the start. Giving back is self love emotion, not the cute kind, not the poster quote and call it healing kind. I'm talking about the kind of love that drags you out of your own darkness by letting you be a light for someone else. Let's talk about it. Hey, family, welcome back to the Way of the Wise Owl podcast. It's your girl, Dagmarie, your truth teller, your mirror, and your reminder that healing is real, but it requires you to show up for yourself in ways you were never taught. Today's episode is something that has been sitting heavy on my spirit because I've lived the kind of pain that makes you want to disappear. And I've also lived the kind of healing that only happened after I stopped disappearing and started serving. And I don't mean serving like running yourself into the ground for everybody else. No, I mean serving from the place where your scars become a map. This episode was inspired by a moment I had. One of those quiet, holy moments that doesn't look like much on the outside, but changes you on the inside. I was talking to someone who was drowning in the same kind of pain I once carried, and while I was listening to her, I felt this tightness in my chest loosen. Not because her story was easy, it wasn't, but because I realized something. I wasn't just helping her breathe, I was breathing again too. So today, we're going to unpack what that means. If you listen all the way through, here's what you're going to walk away with. A new understanding of why giving back heals you. How to know when you're serving from love versus serving from trauma, and practical ways to start giving back without losing yourself. This one is for the woman who's tired, the one who's been through hell, the one who doesn't even know where to start with healing. Come sit with me. This is a safe place. Definition and why it matters. So let's define it in plain language. When I say giving back is self-love in motion, I mean this. When you use what you've survived to support someone else, you're not just helping them, you're honoring you. You're taking your pain out of the shadows and letting it stand in the light with purpose. Because a wound that stays hidden becomes a prison, but a wound that's shared with meaning becomes a doorway. And this matters because so many of us were taught the wrong definition of self-love. We were taught that self-love is bubble baths and setting boundaries. And yes, that's part of it. But the deeper truth is this. Self-love is the courage to live like your life matters. And sometimes you remember your life matters when you see what your story does for somebody else. Let me say it another way. If you've ever felt like your pain was pointless, like your suffering was random, giving back flips that script because you start to realize, I didn't go through that for nothing. And I know some of y'all might be thinking, Dagmarie, I'm still trying to heal. How am I supposed to give back? Listen to me. You don't have to be fully healed to be useful. You just have to be honest. Sometimes giving back isn't a grand gesture. Sometimes it's texting a friend, I'm here and I get it. Sharing one truth online, mentoring one girl, speaking up in a room where you used to shrink. And let me ask you, what happens when we ignore this part of ourselves? What happens when we keep our pain private, our wisdom locked up, our story buried? We start believing that our experiences don't mean anything, that we're not valuable unless we're perfect, that healing is something we do alone in silence. And that's a lie. Isolation doesn't heal. Connection heals. Purpose heals. Service heals. My story or transformation moment. Let me take you into my real world for a minute. There was a season in my life where I was so angry, not loud angry, quiet angry, the kind that turns into depression and numbness and I'm fine when you're really not. I was carrying disappointment. I was carrying betrayal. I was carrying the weight of always having to be strong. And I started to feel like, what is the point of all this? I didn't say it out loud back then, but my spirit was asking, did I suffer just to suffer? And I remember one night laying in bed staring at the ceiling. My body was exhausted, but my mind wouldn't shut up. You know that feeling? When your thoughts get loud at night because you've been pretending all day? Pause. That night I had this thought. If this is all life is, I don't want it. not because I wanted to die, but because I was tired of surviving a life that didn't feel like mine. And then something happened over the next few weeks that I didn't expect. I started talking to women, not as a coach at first, but just as a human being. Women who were in relationships where they were shrinking, women with trauma they were pretending didn't exist, women who kept choosing everybody else over themselves. And every time I listened, I could feel myself recognizing my own story in theirs. But what really broke me open was the moment a woman looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, I thought I was the only one. Thank you for saying it out loud. Y'all, I went to my car and cried. Not because I was sad, but because something in me woke up. I realized that my pain wasn't just pain, it was training, it was evidence, it was credibility for the calling. And when I started serving those women, speaking truth, holding space, telling my story raw, I didn't just see them transform. I started transforming too. Because service gave my suffering somewhere to go. And that's when it hit me. Some of the healing I was begging God for was waiting for me on the other side of giving back. Now, I'm not saying giving back is magic. It doesn't erase what happened to you, but it changes what it means. It takes you from, I was broken by this, to, I was built through this. And that shift, that's everything. All right, let's get practical. Because I don't want you to leave this episode inspired but stuck. Here's how you start giving back as self-love without losing yourself. Step 1, check your motive. Ask yourself, am I giving to be needed or giving to be honest? Because there's a difference. Giving to be needed is trauma talking. Giving to be honest is healing talking. Step 2, start where you are. You don't need a platform. You don't need a big mission statement. You just need to begin. Start with one person, one truth, one moment of courage. Ask, who needs what I survived? Step 3, give from your scar, not your wound. Let me explain that. A wound is still bleeding. A scar is healed over enough to be shared without destroying you. If you're still actively drowning in something, you don't need to be rescuing people from that water yet. Heal first, then reach back. Step 4, choose a form of giving that fits your season. Giving back is not one size fits all. It can look like mentoring, volunteering, checking on someone, sharing your story, donating, helping a neighbor, coaching. It being a safe space. Ask, what kind of giving feels aligned, not draining? Step 5, set boundaries around your service. Listen, giving back should not cost you yourself. If your service leaves you resentful, exhausted, and empty, you're not serving, you're sacrificing. You can love people without losing you. Step 6, let it be imperfect. Some of y'all are waiting to be ready. But readiness is a lie we tell ourselves when we're scared. You don't need to be polished. You need to be present. Your voice doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. Take a breath. Let that land. Let me tell you what happens when someone actually lives this. When you give back from a healed place, you start to feel, 1, emotional freedom. Because you're no longer carrying pain in silence. You're moving it, transmuting it. 2, purpose. Your suffering stops feeling random. Your story starts feeling like a blueprint. 3, confidence. Not performance confidence, soul confidence. The kind that comes from knowing I've been through hell and I'm still here and I can help. 4, deeper connection. Because the right people don't bond over perfection. They bond over truth. 5, self-respect. Serving reminds you that you are valuable. Not because you're flawless, but because you're real. Now let me name a common pitfall. Some people confuse giving back with people pleasing. So let me be clear. Giving back is not you overextending yourself to prove worth. That's old programming. Giving back is you showing up in alignment because your healing has overflowed into generosity. You're not giving because you're trying to earn love. You're giving because love is who you've become. Big difference. So let's wrap this up with truth. If you've been through pain that you can't explain, if you've survived things you don't even talk about, if you've carried shame, betrayal, abandonment, grief, I need you to hear me. Your story is not a burden. It's a blessing waiting to be released. Giving back is not you being responsible for everybody. Giving back is you honoring the fact that you didn't survive for nothing. You're not here just to heal quietly. You're here to heal loud enough to free somebody else too. So here's your call to action. Today, ask yourself, where can I pour from my healed place? And who needs what I now know? Start small. Start honest. Start now. And let me leave you with this affirmation: I will not let my pain be wasted. I will turn it into purpose. I will give back from love, not from lack. And in doing so, I will love myself out loud. You are not behind in your healing. You are right on time for your breakthrough. Thank you for sitting with me today. Seriously. I don't take for granted that you let me into your space, your mind, your heart. If this episode spoke to you, do me a favor. Please forward it to someone who might benefit from this wake-up call. Leave a review so more people can find this healing work. And make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss what's next. And if you want to go deeper with me, come visit me at https://wayofthewise.com. There are more reflections, articles, and podcast episodes waiting for you there. I love you. I believe in you. And I'll talk to you soon.